Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to 2 Point Hospital. It is finally upon us, Croquembouche Hospital, the final level of the base game. We are at the heart of the city. This is it, our toughest challenge yet. Thousands of people flood through Croquembouche every day. At least half of them are sick, in my opinion. The Tower of Jumbo Mega Corporation looms in the distance. Jumbo Healthcare have dominated for too long. If we can build a successful hospital here, we'll cement our position as one of the top organisations in the county. So, I assume we're going to begin as we always do. We have to cure 250 patients, have a cure rate of 70%, a reputation of 70, and a hospital value of $2.5 million. We're going to boost our prices immediately. I want to be selective. I only want the people who can afford the treatment here to begin with. We've got plots everywhere. There are so many places that we can expand into, and this really does kind of smell like a sandbox mode, I guess. Like you've kind of got there and you have these objectives that aren't actually that difficult. So we're gonna maybe start with a big reception room. Actually, I don't know if that's such a good idea. We have like a limited space. We're probably going to have to fit in a load of stuff here. So let's not do that. Let's just put a basic reception desk in for now. And we can always expand that as we go with a proper reception room. I don't know where patients are going to come from. I assume it's just going to be all angles. So it doesn't really matter where we plonk this down. We'll put it there and we'll see what happens. Next, we're going to hire an assistant. Oh, they're all marketing trained. Well, none of this is particularly useful. We'll bring in Kelly Spatula, and we can maybe then have her work in marketing. No, maybe not Kelly Spatula. What about just Robert Titan? We'll have him come in because he's a fresh marketing graduate, so he can move into our marketing department when we finally get one set up. Next, it's the usual GP's office pharmacy, because I assume all of my initial patients are going to be for the pharmacy, and then we'll bring in our first set of staff. Now, they're probably not going to be ideal, but we will deal with them for now. Right, here we go. We've got our first few patients coming in, and I assume we're going to start off with a cure rate of 100% because I believe in the staff that I've hired. And I'm going to make a few adjustments here already, so I'm going to change my diagnosis threshold to 75%, fast-track treatment decisions, and not allow staff to leave rooms when they're idle. Yeah, I think that's set up pretty nicely. Okay, so we've got a decent start now. I'm kind of getting to grips with what I need to do when I first set up these hospitals, and we just need to wait for those cures to roll in. Before we know it, we'll have a value of $2.5 million, and all of those objectives will be completed. And yeah, well, yep, radiators, we should probably sort that out as well, because people are cold, and that's obviously going to keep them happy. There we go, cure rate of 70%. If we can just keep it like that, that's fine. I'll be happy. And that'll do for our staff room. Okay, we also have a psychiatry and a deluxe clinic. We've got a pharmacy emergency, which I will take on. Might as well get some cures in while we can, before things start getting a little bit more difficult. We are going to put down a psychiatry, and then we will put in our deluxe clinic. Now, obviously, I'm taking emergencies on now because there's very little risk at the moment. We have a low reputation, so a lot of the stuff we're getting in is pretty easy to cure. I'm also going to start pooling doctors and nurses who have limited qualifications so that I can train them into specialist areas and then sack the original kind of setup that we have. Always changing our job roles as we go as well, and just making sure we stay on top of training. So next up, I think a deluxe clinic was the one that we were requested, so we'll put that one down, and that's a good start for most of our treatments. Jasmine Hunt is going to come in, she's going to work in there. Let's get our training room put in now, and I will very quickly duplicate this one at some point in the level, because while we've got the money, I think it's important that we get in some training as soon as possible. So I'm going to train a new GP now. I'm going to have a guest trainer come in and do it, and we will have Wilbur Masterstroke. Okay, let's duplicate our training room. We might as well. We've got the cash, and it would be good to be able to start training multiple members of staff in different areas. Now, I don't do my training in the OP way or whatever. I don't really follow a meta. I do things the way that I do, which means often staff members are just in that training room on their own with a guest trainer, which is expensive. It's not the most meta way of doing things, but I find it works for me. And at the moment, there's not a lot of like unqualified staff coming through, so I prefer to just do it as and when I can. And it also keeps the staff happy if you can keep on top of it. So there's not really any good doctors. I'll bring in this one who's good with diagnostics. There's not going to be a lot of diagnostics for doctors to do unless I want to train him in the mega scanner. And then we've got a few nurses here who aren't amazing, but we'll take this pharmacy management one. That's a good hire. So our good ward's going to fit in right here. And obviously as we progress through the level, I want to have a ward for diagnosis and a ward for treatment. And then we have a ward management qualified nurse already on the books. So we'll just pop them only in the 2 wards. Obviously these staff members, apart from Penelope Wetter, those 2 are going to be released at some point because they don't have a great deal of like, oh, earthquakes. I wasn't expecting them for some silly reason. I just did not think everything that we've learned so far would be thrown into this level. But yes, we're going to replace our staff as we get better hires and train up some better staff. Let's put in our PANS lab now. We're just responding to the demands of the patients, so whenever we get a new kind of room required, we've got enough money to do it, so we'll build it. We have dropped into a little bit of debt this month, but that's okay. By the end of this month, we'll be well and truly out of it because our prices are so high. And I actually think I might increase them a little bit more. Let's just do that. Why not? We'll put it up to 100%, so we're grinding in as much cash as we possibly can from these patients in the early game, because our reputation won't be affected by it massively. I'm just going to send that patient home, and yeah, we're looking pretty good. We are 2 of 4 objectives done. The rest of them is just going to happen residually, so as long as we keep on top of our reputation and our cure rate, everything will be good. I do need to think about the future and making sure that our staff are on a regular training schedule so that eventually we can remove the staff that we hired right at the beginning, like I've already said. And I'm just picking out like patients that I know I'm not going to be able to cure right now and sending them home. Obviously this does affect your reputation, so don't really want to do that too much. We're almost at the end of the year though. Let's see what we've won. Not expecting much. Okay, 4 of 8, that's not too bad. Let's do a bit of expanding. We're going to put an injection room in. That one's been requested by a fair few patients, so I think it's probably going to be a good call to bring that one in as well. Let's put another room in. We've got plenty of cash in the bank. I am aware of the queue that's forming at our GP's office, so that's probably going to be one that we should duplicate. I'm going to put a clown clinic in now because I do remember sending home somebody with chest infection, so that one is at least something that we're aware we're going to be getting soon. And then I'm just going to quickly rotate this training room, because that little gap there, I could probably fit in a toilet or something, or you know, just something to kind of bulk out that space. Maybe I could even squeeze in a marketing there. I think they're small. Who knows? Anyway, we've got a staff promotion, and then I think duplicating our GP's office is going to be a good idea. Now, there's no other GPs coming in, but I'm going to bring in the psychiatrist, because one of my original staff members was trained across psychiatry and GPs. This one here, Madeline Duvet. So we'll put Madeline back in GP's offices, and we will just have Raj work in the psychiatry. Then I can duplicate my GP's office and start hopefully funneling some patients into that other GP's room. I can't afford it right now, but I mean, there we go, now we can afford it. Before I'd even finished my sentence, we'd had our money back, which is really good, and now that queue should start thinning out, and our GPs will be able to channel these patients pretty quickly. Now that we've reached a level of expansion that we're fairly happy with, I think we can probably put in a couple of like chairs and stuff, as well as a few more machines for like snacks and drinks and stuff. As you can see, we have kind of expanded up to almost the capacity of this room. I think we can probably squeeze in a few more treatment rooms and maybe a couple of diagnosis rooms, but we should now definitely be turning our attention to the necessity of expanding into one of the many plots that are available in this level. I'm just putting in a few hand sanitizers as well, and then of course the arcade machines, because they're the most popular form of entertainment I've found anyway, and they're also pretty cheap. These periscope arcade machines and some of the larger machines I'm never really keen on putting in, but I am going to do it anyway just for a bit of variation, and I think they kind of make your hospital look a little bit nicer. It does kind of highlight the fact that my reception desk is really off-center, but we'll be upgrading that to a proper reception room. Speaking of upgrades, I've queued up one machine upgrade. I don't want to go too much into this one. I just want to make sure that my mechanics aren't getting overstretched. We are also going to pop down not the injection room. I've already got one of those. Where are we? What was I going to do? I've completely lost my train of thought. Pest control, that's the one. So we'll put in a pest control here. I'm going to have to move that arcade machine already, but it will fit in that slight corridor right there. And then that's our pest control put in place. Just need to make sure that we have the required staff for it. Let's have a quick look. And of course, you can see here, I've assigned specific roles to staff. It's just how I like to do things. You might do things differently, but I've found that this is the most effective way for me to keep control of where I need to have staff and which ones I'm going to need to train, because we are constantly training throughout the year. You're not really seeing it in the video because nobody really wants to see me go through the same processes over and over again. I'm showing you the builds that I'm doing, a little bit of training, and then kind of my general kind of thoughts on what's going on. So because our reputation's kind of gotten pretty big, we're now getting more requests for treatments that I don't have the space or money or staff to put in. So we're going to buy our new plot. We're going to take on this old hedge maze, $130,000 to buy that plot. So a lot of the plots in this one are pretty expensive, but they're pretty big as well. So we're able to fit in as many rooms as possible. And what I'll probably do now is I'll start juggling around some rooms. We'll move a lot of our treatment rooms into that new wing that's getting built, and then we'll keep this area as our main kind of reception and diagnosis rooms. So you can see things have dropped a little bit, but we will kind of recover them quickly. It's just because we've sent people home. We've had a few deaths and we're just falling a little bit behind on our development, probably because of our initial overexpansion earlier on in the level. We can finally afford a mega scanner, and that's the thing that I've been waiting to put in, because it does deal with a lot of the diagnosis levels that you have within the hospital. You can diagnose pretty much every single illness in the mega scan, so it's a really important room to have, although it is expensive and you do need a specifically qualified staff member. I have two, one of which I will be letting go of, but I do have another one that is just going to be trained solely in working in that room. And then we're going to move some more of our rooms around so that all of our treatment is in this new wing that we've just opened up. So we have made a little bit of a loss there, and that's fine. We can afford our fracture ward, and I think, let's see what we've won this year, actually. Okay, not amazing, but I wasn't really expecting it. It's been a bit of a tough year, so that's fine. We can actually afford our chromotherapy now, which was one that was requested by a patient or two, and I've already sent a few home, so to have that one in now is going to make life a little bit easier on that kind of next tier of illnesses that we're going to be dealing with. We can put in this shock clinic as well, which is really good. You can see now the illnesses are starting to come in thick and fast, so we're getting a lot of requests as our reputation increases and as our hospital level increases, and that just means that we have to react a little bit more and make sure that we've always got money in the bank, which also means we're going to have to start rejigging our staff roles and make sure that we've got people there to cover. I'm going to keep hiring in staff with no qualifications and train them up gradually, but for now, when I bring them in, I don't want them to work anywhere. I like the fact that they're ready to train, and it just means that I can do a bulk of training, get those staff leveled up really quickly, and then get them working in our treatment or diagnosis rooms as quick as possible. It might be worth putting in a x-ray, because I have a doctor who's trained in level 2 diagnosis now, and he has just kind of wandered around the hospital since he got his job. We've put another room in there, and we have a request for a resolution lab, which I will be able to fulfill because I still have plenty of cash in the bank. So that's 3 new treatment rooms this month, and probably more to come very soon. Let's put our surgery in. I have a trained surgeon now, and I probably have some nurses who are trained in treatment who can support that. So I think it's about time we pulled the trigger on that one and got our surgery in place. Now, we all know that surgery is one of the more difficult ones, so I'm not expecting miracles from this surgeon, but it's at least a start, and it means that we're sending one less patient home, and we're going to be able to start curing those in the surgery, as well as leveling up that surgeon so we can continue advancing his skill within that field. We're going to have Teddy Sweat I don't think I want Teddy Sweat working in a surgery, while I'd certainly not like to be operated on with sweaty Teddy there as a assistant, but whatever, we've put him in. Right, recovery room. Another one to put down. We are almost kind of filled up on our treatment rooms, which is really good. And I'm just spitballing here, but I reckon we're going to need to kind of duplicate this process. So we're going to have more treatment rooms of the same illnesses. So we've got like multiple staff members working in several different treatment rooms and all of that sort of stuff. This is probably going to be a huge hospital in the end, but I think we're probably going to be able to complete the 3-star objectives with minimal fuss. It's just going to be, and I'm just guessing, expansions on all of these objectives, very much like the previous level, Rotting Hill, but we kind of have a clean slate here. Obviously we're dealing with epidemics, we're dealing with natural disasters and stuff, so it is really a culmination of everything we've experienced in the game so far. I'm just going to train my GPs up a little bit and bring a new one in as well. It is slow progress in this one, but I'm pretty comfortable with it, actually. There's not really been anything that's made me break a sweat. I certainly think it's one of the easier ones. For it being the last level, I'm quite surprised at how simple it's been so far. We're putting in our cryptology now, and I think that leaves us with only a few more treatment rooms left, and then we've completed the collection. And we can actually just start gradually curing people, training our staff up as we go, and upgrading our machines. Again, not by too much because we don't want our janitors to be overwhelmed. Promote our staff, keep everybody happy, and just make sure that we're expanding whenever we can. We are over the halfway mark for our cure 250 patients. We obviously need to build up our reputation again. Maybe some radiators would help because people won't be complaining that they're so cold. Our GPs are struggling a little bit, so I think it's probably time to duplicate a GP's office again. And we do have a member of staff ready who was trained in like level 1 general practice, so they can come in and start working there immediately. And we just need to make sure that the person that we have assigned specifically to the psychiatry, who's also trained in general practice, is actually working across the two of them. So let's just have a quick look at that. We're almost at the end of the year as well. Yeah, we've got 3 GPs, and I think they were all set to work across all of them. I'm thinking about my training now, but I'm not really sure who to do. We got ward management, actually. We could... Benji Black is the one who I want to become my main ward manager, and then we'll get rid of that one and hire some new staff. But what do we win as we approach the end of the year? That's much better. That's what I was expecting. Obviously, we don't have a research department yet, so we can't get best research hospital. No deaths would be nice, but our staff aren't trained well enough for that, I think. So we're going to queue up some more training, and then we will carry on. This is looking like a decent reception. I think it was about time that we expanded this because the queue was getting a little bit unbearable in the original reception desk that we had in. And this is a decent location for our new reception room. We can get 3 counters here, which means we'll have to hire some more assistants in. But we'll just pop in a few mini filing cabinets. Well, I don't think we're going to hit even level 4 here, but that's fine. We'll just deal with that. Get rid of this reception desk and watch everybody migrate to that new room and hire a new assistant or something. I don't know. We don't actually have a cardiology, so I'm going to build one of those now and immediately queue up the first level of upgrades on the machine. I don't think it's going to get used particularly much, but I just like to have it in there. It does kind of take a little bit of strain away from the GPs, and you can kind of reach a diagnosis decision quicker. Also, I think if some of them are confident of getting the diagnosis from the cardiology, they'll move to there instead of the mega scanner, which again will free up members of staff and queue slots in our actual mega scan. 45 patients left to cure, and then we just need to get that cure rate back up to 70%, which shouldn't take too long. We're doing really well on this level. I'm not feeling fully confident about having a DNA lab. I'd much rather send them home, but because I need to be careful of my reputation, I think we should just put it in. We have a staff member who is ready to go into that DNA lab, but I would like to make sure that I have a new member of staff who trains in DNA and can just kind of take over the running of that department, so that when I eventually get rid of those beginning staff that we hired in, it'll be a clean slate and I'll have someone ready to step into that role. So we're going to train up our diagnosis doctors and nurses. I think I only have the one here. Yeah, okay, I think that'll do. Diagnostics level 2. We will have this junior. No, we'll bring in a guest trainer and get that done. So we're like 10 patients away from completing this, and I will say this. Croquembouche has been really relaxing, and I don't know if that's just because, you know, by this point you should have an idea of how you're going to play the game and a system in place that just makes everything easier. But I remember playing Theme Hospital, and the last level of the game was an absolute nightmare. I think it's a lot easier to recover from disasters in 2 Point Hospital, and there's a lot of room for mistakes, whereas I thought Theme Hospital, if you got into a spiral where things were not going to plan, that would be it. You also, if I remember correctly, you had like failure conditions, like if you had like a cure rate or your deaths got to so many in number, you would fail the level regardless, so you really had to be careful. I can't remember for sure, it's been a very long time since I played Theme Hospital, but I would love to play it again. Maybe I will do a little bit of a retro time and we'll play through that if I can get my hands on it. But yeah, what a game. But anyway, this has been great. Obviously we've got deaths, that's unavoidable when you have something like this, where a lot of the illnesses you're getting in are pretty advanced, pretty difficult to cure, and you don't have the staff who are fully trained at this point. But my aim is to have a lot of treatment trained doctors and nurses, diagnosis trained nurses and doctors, and just make sure that everybody is specialized. So we will be clearing the decks of some of our staff as we progress through the level. So we're going to start doing that now. We're firing our original staff members that we hired. I think it was just the 1 doctor and 2 nurses that I had in, that I wasn't too keen on the mix of abilities that they had. So we're going to get rid of them. And as you can see here, the training that we're doing is stacking up pretty well. So yeah, we have like 4 more to go, and then we'll have done our 1-star objectives. You can see the queues are building at the GP's office, but if I train my current GPs up to a better level, that might actually sort itself out. And another GP's office would probably be good. I'd maybe go for like 5 or 6 as we move into the 2-star objectives. But yeah, it's been a really good level though. I do like it. I like the challenge of it. I like, you know, it has been easy, but also you have had to like manage your growth, and I think that's been the important part of it. But this place is huge, and there we go, 1-star objectives done. We can view the credits because we've technically completed the game. Our organization has become the gold standard for healthcare. That's really impressive considering how much I was flailing around in the earlier parts of this playthrough, and it has been a long one. This has been going on for I think over a year now, and for a game that isn't you know, it's not very popular on YouTube, so I don't blame people for not watching it, but I do hope if you have kind of followed it along, you've enjoyed it. We are continuing with it though. I've got DLC to do, I've got remixes to do, so lots to kind of come from 2 Point Hospital and 2 Point Campus. We have to cure 500 patients, get a cure rate of 80%, a reputation of 80%, and a hospital value of $5 million for our next set of objectives. But this one has been a really good level. I've had a lot of fun playing it, and it's a really nice way to bring this whole like part of the series to a close before we move on to, like I said, the DLC, the remixes, and maybe in the future some like aesthetically pleasing hospitals. But I hope you enjoyed this one. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you for the 2-star objectives of Croquembouche. Bye bye.